who's to decide what event or occurrence is valid enough to cause a certain amount of mental distress, and who's to determine that only when conditions are diagnosed by clinicians that they are worth talking about. We've always made it a point on Driveway Devi to try and bring all of you lived experiences, observations, and opinions of people such as yourself and us, ordinary everyday folk, who have encountered through the course of navigating life and its many drudgeries certain situations that have caused a certain amount of distress, even if they haven't sort of officially amounted to a condition. It is there's a lot of value in investigating and talking about those situations, because especially since they don't involve clinicians, oftentimes people who undergo these kinds of circumstances are also developing their own ways of coping and navigating, which also present tremendous learnings for everybody else to sort of draw from. And I'm very, very happy and delighted that the individual joining us today is so sort of nonchalant and open and a real sport, in that she has agreed very readily to indulge us and sort of make us a part of her journey and discuss some key aspects of her life that have perhaps, let's say, deregulated her, and how she is currently navigating those challenges. Joining me is marketing communications consultant Ayushi Gaur. And Ayushi is somebody who I'm very envious of on one count, that she's studied a lot. I don't know where she finds the tenacity from. Very well educated, and is now building what I'm sure will be an extremely successful career in the big bad city that's Bombay. So I really appreciate her making the time, being such a sport, and I'd like to welcome her. So welcome, Ayushi.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here.
So, Ayushi, if I can request you to give our viewers a sense of what you are currently doing these days.
Okay, I'm working at a product company as a marketing communications consultant, and it's a proper, uh, not a 9 to 5, but an 11 to 8 corporate job. That's pretty much what I'm doing these days professionally.
Wonderful. Now, like I sort of mentioned in my introduction, you are somebody who's studied a fair bit. I want to understand from you, during those years that you were involved actively in gaining your own degrees and studying, were there points at which your studies or your programs seemed or felt overwhelming?
Not not the studies or the programs, but the fear of landing up where I wanted to land up, and
Hmm.
sometimes the uncertainty of not knowing also where I want to land up was sort of overwhelming. So to navigate, A, to understand what your dream is, B, to find out if achieving that dream is possible, and then C, to telling yourself, are you even capable? Will you be able to do it? And then finally hopping onto that step that might take you closer to that dream. So that process is overwhelming, but once you get into it, then it just flows.
You know, you've made such tremendously important points, because it really isn't about the padhai, but more all of these other, I would rather, I would go so far as to say existential questions that surround those scholastic pursuits that can really, really become overwhelming. And you mentioned a very critical thing. You said, what is even our dream? I must ask you though, uh, did you feel ever that you were deciding largely your own dreams, or were you consciously or unconsciously realizing somebody else's?
No, this is one thing I'm 100% sure about. I was following what my heart was asking me to follow. I had a clear vision of at least the domain I want to be in, if not for sure know exactly what in that domain, but I knew the space I wanted to be in. So I was for sure following my own skill set, strengths, my own heart, my own passion.
I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted to hear that. Very quickly, though, these questions that do, I suppose, occur to most of us regarding where am I headed? Will I get there? What were some resources that helped you determine some of those things?
To start with, the right kind of exposure. And I would say that exposure also was made only possible because of the kind of motivation, encouragement I had from my parents, because they were so bent on, giving me that flight in the air to go achieve, to go succeed, that I was also thinking along those lines. So the resources that helped me realize where I want to be is the exposure and not the restriction that okay, this is what I have to look at, that's what I have to look at. I used to watch a lot of people, I used to absorb a lot of things. So those things really helped me understand, okay, this is what I might be good at, this is what I might actually enjoy doing later. That did help initially a lot.
Your your response again is absolutely wonderful. Touch wood, but it makes me want to make a very specific point. I know that in reality television, one is, from a maker standpoint, one is intentionally looking for sob stories because that's what gets the TRPs. Here on Driveway Devi, let me make it crystal clear and use this opportunity to say that we overwhelmingly love stories where there are stories of support and triumph, because that's what it's really all about. So we are not chasing after, oh my God, I went through this trauma. We would much rather hear stories like these. Okay, now you've had a, let's say, tectonic shift recently, figuratively and physically. We talked a little bit about this offline. You've moved from uh, Chandigarh to Bombay, to extremely different environments. I mean, that doesn't even sum it up. Give us a sense of what that's been like.
So a good thing there is that it was not a sudden shift because of
Hmm.
my dad's profession. We'd been moving cities,
Hmm.
and I was also in Bangalore for my studies. Then when I began working, I was in Hyderabad briefly. I was
Hmm.
also in Pune briefly.
Hmm.
So I was slowly getting used to cities that are completely different from a place like Chandigarh. But again, if I have to specifically talk about these two cities and the way they differ and make an impact, is for sure the kind of environment Chandigarh gives you. It's a very well planned city. It's a very, like, I don't know how to even say elite if I'm not using a wrong word, but a city that actually holds luxury in true terms.
Hmm.
You have good air, good water, great farm produce. You have really a community that's highly educated. They're mostly people from the administrative or the government services. Extreme discipline in the city. And then when I'm in Bombay, I love the city. Like, there's no other city like Mumbai because it's so welcoming. Like, today, I'm super safe here. I have access to all opportunities. I step down within 100 meters, I have access to all conveniences. But yeah, there are some drawbacks that also come with this big metro city, which is, of course, you can't deny that there's a lot of pollution. We are causing that pollution, we're also contributors, but yes, we're facing that. There is you know the crowd is too much, the roads are always jammed, so these things one has
But
to deal with.
Ayushi, I think you'll agree that there are certain facets to one's life that are very conscious, and one sort of encounters them routinely, and then there are others that are more passive and kind of in the background that often actually end up causing even more distress and we don't even realize it. So, for example, in the Bombay context, for most people, I'm not generalized, I'm not saying that it's so for you, but for a lot of people, and because I have some experience of that city as well, let's say I'm walking down and I'm not somebody who's used to the stench of the ocean or the nalas either. Now, that's something that I could possibly encounter even on a daily basis. At some point, perhaps my senses will become immune to it. But what about something like the kind of rent that I'm paying? And it's slowly sort of chipping away, not at the bank account, that though obviously it is, but also at one's just as this whole sense of effort versus what is it fetching you at the end of the day, those kinds of things. Do those things also, do you think they sort of play a factor?
Absolutely, big factor. I mean, I don't see myself living like this for the whatever years I live on this earth. I don't want to live like this. And this is a conversation I have almost every single day with my husband. I keep telling him that, hey, listen, we're here for so much period, but my long term plan is to move back to a tier 2 city, tier 3 city, where what we're earning, we're also being rewarded equally. Here, the hustle is too much, and the more it gives you, it also takes away that much from you, be it monetarily, be it physically, emotionally, mentally. The exhaustion is undeniable. So for sure, like for sure, this is a very important aspect.
Presumably, you haven't been in Bombay too long, living wise, but do you find that there are certain things about you that are starting to change? Again, just to provide some context, do you, for example, feel that you're somebody who wasn't that way earlier, but now has developed a little bit of FOMO?
Changing
Or,
in
or,
a
or, or for example, have you sort of even partially succumbed to being someone who is, now comparing things?
Not at all, like not FOMO wise at all. I would, like I said, I would rather move to a really small village in a remote corner of the country. That's actually where I want to be, honestly. But if I'm getting immune to something in Mumbai, I'm getting immune to the noise, I'm getting immune to the long commuting hours, I am getting immune to also not being afraid. I mean, I stepped down today and I don't know which metro will take me where, but I have the confidence and I know people around me. The space is safe enough for me to go about it, explore, get on a train, get maybe to the wrong station, yet come back to the right one.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's something I'm getting immune to. I'm getting immune. I'm a very sensitive sleeper, but because Mumbai is super noisy, even middle of the night, and our house is situated at the corner of the street, right adjacent to a signal.
Oh, wow.
So a girl who couldn't sleep unless there was pin drop silence today is sleeping, even with honking going on in the background. So I'm getting immune to that.
I suspect you'll become like the character of that ad. I remember very vividly. I keep referencing it when these international calling cards first came out way back in the day. One of the first companies was something called Matrix, and that ad may they show this guy go travels abroad. It's eerily quiet, and he can't fall asleep. And then he uses his matrix card to call home, and his mum puts the phone on speaker, and he listens to the ambient tamasha and falls asleep.
I hope not. I hope I don't become that person.
No, I don't think so.
I
Yeah.
hope a few years later I go back to that eerie silence and I get my deep sleep.
Absolutely. No, I'm sure you will. But without sort of being too critical or harsh on a city, because one also, I completely resonate with what you say about Bombay. It is an extremely welcoming and liberating city to be in. It is in many ways a city of migrants. Um, there is a set of unpleasant situations. What do you do? What have you done earlier? Or is there something new you've started doing in order to cope? It can be anything from, a bit of meditation to whatever.
Yeah, I actually have started doing a lot of things. I've realized, and again, it's not just about Mumbai. It's about any big city in any part of the world
Yeah.
where there are too many people, where people are migrating for work. That city is supposed to build a lot of hustle inside of you. And because in my life, I don't know where time is going these days. I don't know when I wake up, when I sleep, and the day ends in a flash. I have mindfully started to take at least 15 minutes in the morning, sit with myself, my hot cup of water and the newspaper, and I listen to meditative music. That is the time I don't do anything else. Like, that's where my mind is. So these little things I do consciously, so I at least get a sense of where time is going. I don't end my night, no matter what, without reading even if 2 pages of a book, but I do give myself those 10 minutes also. I was never that person who could understand people listening to spiritual music. I would be like, what's that? Like, why? I want a fun environment. But I don't know, lately, it's been months. Evening, I play some spiritual music, something that, calms the house's vibe, makes me feel grounded, makes me feel like, okay, everything's okay, someone's got me. So these things have come into picture now.
The other collateral damage, almost certain, that happens in a big city life, let's say, is a severe paucity of time, and that is often also then coupled with a lack of just physical and mental wherewithal. Even if one wants to go and do a great workout at the gym, one may not have either the physical time or the wherewithal to do that. What about things of that nature? Are you able to get a workout? Were you somebody who was very active?
Again, this is something that is a point of discussion every single day. There was a time when I newly switched my job and workload was pretty manageable. I used to work out every single evening. And ever since now, the responsibilities have increased again. I am not able to. And just today, I was sitting with myself and telling myself that no more of, feeling this guilt. I've got to wake up in the morning and I've got to hit the gym. Otherwise, it's not going to be so healthy for me. So, yeah. And sometimes, even besides time, like, it's not like I can't make time. I can make time. It's just that you're sometimes so exhausted,
That's what,
physically,
absolutely.
mentally, that you feel like it's fine, let me just
Absolutely.
sleep it off, or let me just sit and not do anything. So that mental exhaustion is also very critical.
Most definitely, most definitely. Let's come to another sort of allied aspect. Again, I promise you, I'm not looking for a needle in a haystack. If you tell me all is good, I'll be chuffed. But I've noticed through having had some life experience that even in quote unquote the most uh, convivial, happy circumstances in which two individuals come together and decide to get married, particularly for the woman in the way our society is constructed. Invariably, in most parts of the country, it is the girl who goes from her home to the husband partner's home. Those shifts, adjustments, etc., are very hard to prepare for in most scenarios, and they do come with a certain amount of, again, even if it's not active stress, it's just re-establishing life in many ways from a scratch. What has that entire adjustment been like?
um I again don't want to give a really happy answer, but again, mindfully, I have taken a lot of conscious choices, because I'm a very strong believer of equality. And I think if two people are entering a marriage, then it's two people entering a marriage. It's not one person entering a marriage. And I've consciously done a lot of things. I'm still doing. I'm at home still trying to inculcate those habits and a culture where my husband and I are not dividing into stereotypical roles, but we are trying to create an environment which is more holistic. And to fight a system and a society where this is not very highly appreciated is of course difficult. Like if today I'm at work, my husband might not be worrying about what to have for dinner, but I will be worrying. So those little things are still there, but at least we've moved from me going and cooking to him also coming and sometimes just taking over. So
Mm,
that is
mm.
also a good step.
Of course it is.
Things like,
It's, I'm not trying to sort of belittle its importance. I'm just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. It's like one of those situations, no, when we stepped onto the moon for the first time. It's a small step
yeah,
for that
absolutely.
person, but a giant step for this entire sort of deeply embedded and rooted patriarchy and
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and things are changing. I feel like a lot of people are now trying to change things. We're no more in this in the society where only one person's going out to earn and the other person's just making home. Like we're all
Hmm.
trying to make
Hmm.
an earning, and
Hmm.
it's important to juggle roles also equally. For example, I was the house, like if you're talking about me shifting into a house, we both before our marriage we found this house together where we're currently living in. We both paid the deposit and the brokerage, and we've moved in here together. So I have
That's so
been
lovely to
trying.
know. That's so
Yeah,
lovely because it establishes an equitable status quo from the get-go.
yeah. So, and it's not, so I'm a Punjabi and he's a Gujarati, but that doesn't mean that I'm following someone else's culture completely or that person's following my culture. Like we both are following each other's culture. So
Sure.
it's a mixed culture household, and we're trying to inculcate both things. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. Let's see how much we're able to, but at least we're headed in the right direction.
A thought just occurred to me because it's so easy for us to sit and criticize, particularly people of my generation. The When we see the, let's say, collapse of the joint family system, we really rue the fact that it's happening, and look back fondly upon days of our childhoods where we grew up amongst aunts and uncles and cousins. But it has to be said, and just to play devil's advocate, that there are certain benefits to that as well. Now, for example, the more young couples who are on the same wavelength in terms of their philosophy and ethos, if they start living more and more together without quote unquote baggage of the elders physically present, this whole thing जो हम मजाक की तरह बोलते थे that oh, Indian wedding means like 100 people are marrying 100 people, it's not two individuals, but it is becoming individualistic, and because it is becoming individualistic, it can facilitate and enable certain changes to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like if I am building a family, like you marry and you build a family together, right? You build a household together, and I can only do it if I have the autonomy to do it. If I am not able to decide what will go on in my house, and if I have to wait for the next 30 years for the elderly to take a step back, and I have become an elderly by then, and then my kids are following the same cycle, then what's the point? Like
Absolutely.
when does one run their own house? When does one
Absolutely. I think
build
if
a
you're
family?
assimilating into an established system, you are sort of by default losing any agency.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And you have to, and those, I've like practically also seen this, those adjustments just make hearts unhappy of both the parties. Nobody is happy in that situation.
Hmm.
Everybody is compromising, everybody is adjusting, they're trying to maintain peace. Why try? Why not just have peace and have true happiness in your hearts? Have individual spaces and rather strengthen love, strengthen respect for each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, on that note of change, my last 2 points of inquiry are also change related, hopefully. One, of course, and I routinely find myself asking, I feel sometimes like Barkha, because she does this all the time. Whenever there's a lady guest, I invariably ask them, particularly relatively young guests, if you have encountered situations, whether in personal life or in corporate life, where you felt, let me just put it bluntly, discriminated against on account of your gender.
I wouldn't want to generalize for the whole gender, but for me particularly, I have just, again, I want to again highlight that it's not generalizing. It's me who's faced it and who's probably
Fair
seen it
enough.
happen. I think it's easier for people to sort of speak to a woman a certain way.
Mm.
The tone, the words, the behavior, because we are looked at as the softer gender, the gender that is not that bold, and the gender that will take whatever you give them. You can speak to them a certain way, and she's just a girl. What will she do? She'll cry and go back
Don't
home.
you think that's also, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, such an important point. Don't you think that's also embedded in the fact that boys talk to mothers a certain way and you don't mess around with dad?
Yeah, because dad's doing it, right? And why is dad doing it? Because dad saw the grandfather do it.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it's very, and this is so disgusting to hear this one line saying, अरे कितना बोलती है, बहुत बोलती है, ये तो
Oh
कुछ ज्यादा ही
God.
बोलती है. So it's so sad that even some relatives, like if a girl is too outspoken or has an opinion,
Yeah.
they're like, अरे ये तो बहुत चालाक है, ये तो बहुत तेज है.
Yeah, actually, it's not when she has too many opinions. Too many opinions का तो वही अलग है. The whole point is that the moment a girl talks means, oh, Baba.
अरे ये तो बोलती है. So that is very sad, which is why I think subconsciously, or through whatever things, people try to like lower your voice down. And you are a certain, I think biologically also we can't deny that women are built a certain way, like
Sure.
our nature absolutely biologically is also very different.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I'm in a workplace, or even when I'm out, sometimes even with relatives, it's easier to speak to me a certain way and tell me a few things that you maybe can't say to someone exactly my age, exactly my qualification, with exactly the amount I am earning. You can't
I'll give you
with
the
a boy.
perfect context. So many times I've seen in my own case, why should I go to somebody else? If my mum is unhappy about certain things about me, she won't tell me. She'll tell my wife.
Yeah, because it's probably difficult to confront you.
Yeah, I mean, it's born from that same thing of, even if it's not, the presumption and the assumption is that, oh my God, there'll be a bad reaction. Oh my God, I'll upset him. Oh my God, he'll flare
Yeah,
up. Oh my God, I'll trigger him.
yeah, because you can expect the guy to give it back, but with a girl you'll be like, what will she do? She'll cry and she'll weep and go back home. It'll be a sob story.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that is something I've seen as discrimination.
But, again, the hope is, and I don't think it's very far-fetched, that with all of the other changes that are also afoot, I think all these different facets will be addressed.
Absolutely, I hope so too, because if I'm feeling it today, then maybe like a few days later I'll understand how to process it. A few more days later I'll know how to deal with it, and I'll be
Hmm.
able to pass that on to my daughter. So I
Absolutely.
hope that change comes.
Absolutely. Finally, then, before we sign off, also on the topic of change, there has been a clear shift that I personally see, and this is something I've corroborated with two extremely learned sociology doctors who are tracking and mapping this kind of change. That in the present, current young generation, there is a very tangible shift in their priorities, particularly when it comes to prioritizing one's mental health, prioritizing work life balance, things that were perhaps just theoretical concepts in our time and could never be acted on. Do you get a similar sense?
Absolutely. Again, I'm a very, very strong propagator of maintaining work-life balance. I so much so that if my husband is sending a message to a co-worker or a team member at after 8 p.m., I'm like, that's not healthy. And I tell him you'll become an unhealthy leader if you do it. So that's something I consciously follow. I very punctually sharp at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. I begin work, and I on most days end it on the scheduled time. And there's someone who once told me there's no amount of work that you can't do within those 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. So make those hours productive so you're able to shut off on time and you're able to resume life. I don't want to forget the simple fact that we're working to live and we're not living to work. So that's something I truly believe in, and I'm very sure of not compromising my life for anything. I think in the end I'm supposed to live and have fun and die after having fun, so I want to do that.
No, I'm delighted again to hear that, and I see no reason why you'll be able to see it through that way. But this itself is a very complex and nuanced issue. We can have hours of debate over it. I want to very quickly ask you though, Ayushi, do you feel that this is one of those situations that certain people can sort of take advantage of or abuse?
The work life balance situation,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely anyone can. But and if you're okay with it, I know a lot of people who are okay with it. I know a lot of people who are okay working after working hours, and now I don't know if they're not utilizing their working hours properly. Maybe
Productively,
they're working
efficiently.
beyond, yeah, beyond hours, or they think it's going to give a very nice image of them
Sure,
if they
brownie
work out.
points and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've literally seen some people sending out emails purposefully at 10 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the night to show that, oh my god, full day, I was so busy, I'm sending emails now. So
Hmm.
a lot of things, some people are okay with it, want to do it. And if your bosses are not respecting that time, it can be taken advantage of. But then you as an individual, I feel like you can't let anyone take control of how you're living after a certain point.
I'm going to jump in here because I don't think I was able to explain myself properly. I'll give you an example. Very recently, a school that I know quite well, I know that they were looking for new teachers, young teachers,
Hmm.
and they had this set of really, really young, upstart, first-time teachers come in to interview, and a couple of them very, very plainly told the management that on XYZ 3 days of the week,
Hmm.
they will not be able to come in the morning at school time. They'll be an hour and a half late on account of yoga.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I myself haven't been able to sort of really make up my mind whether that level of, let's say, or that way of being is okay or not okay. Is it professional or not professional? Because at the end of the day, the poor school can't change its school timings, right?
And yeah, I don't have, I'm again, this is my opinion, personal opinion, but I think you've got to respect your work. You've got to respect the place. Imagine life without work. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not having. So you can't take anything for granted.
Yeah,
What the incident you talked about is almost like disrespecting your work. I'm sure there can be some other time for yoga, but
yeah.
a work commitment is a work commitment. And even for someone like me, that it doesn't mean I don't have 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. calls. I do.
Sure.
There are days when I do stretch. So work is work, but to make it a habit,
Yeah.
that's wrong. That's where you have to draw the line, have work life balance, but nowhere that means that you take your work for granted. I mean, that's the most important thing. That's actually keeping you healthy, occupied mentally, physically, emotionally. Imagine state of people who are looking for work and who don't have work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, you if you were taking an exam, which I'm sure you've taken many of and aced them all, you've certainly aced this one. I'm very relieved to hear what you said right at the end, because yeah, I think that balance needs to be struck. Well, it's been absolutely lovely chatting. You've been extremely forthcoming, honest. Really enjoyed lots of value and takeaways. We wish you all the very best with Bombay, in your marriage, with work, and take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.